in the basement shop. Don't mind all the water because my aquariums are going. So today we are going to work on charcuterie board. I'm hoping this is enough. Not sure yet. I have some shorter cutoff pieces that I'm just trying to get rid of, and well, charcuterie boards I believe are going to be the way to go for it. So we're going to start off just by throwing this stuff in the middle. Ooh, that's our goal width, so I'm definitely going to have to add a little more. It's actually almost perfect, so we will throw in one piece to space it out a hair. Then when this is all glued up, I can actually cut it down to the correct width via a table saw, but that actually should be close enough. I can make that work. If you haven't seen, I've done other videos on how I actually mill my wood to get it from rough cut to all smooth edges ready to go. Highly encourage you all to go check that out if you haven't already seen it. And then actually I want this piece on the outside. Maybe not. I gotta check something here real quick. I don't like this divot that's missing. If we do that, where did I put that template? If we do that, cut that, okay. It should be gone. I'm safe, I can leave it like that because aesthetically I like the way that looks more. Alright. So if you've never seen any of my cutting board, charcuterie board glue ups, I like my Titebond 3. Some people say it's not as good as Titebond 2, but I like the fact that it's food safe for indirect food contact. So as long as you're not like putting it straight on dried glue, you're safe, and that's exactly what it is when you are putting it on these glued joints that I've got. So with that said, we are going to run some beads. I definitely cut this tip too big. I'm not getting enough back pressure. Alright. And I'm actually going to have to switch to the other side here in a second to do this right. So there's that. We're going to set that down. This is one of the dangers of having a ton of clamps and a small work table. Alright, so we got that. Scooch that over a little bit. It doesn't matter if the stuff's falling right now because I just want to get it to as close to the edges as I can. Then we just take our finger. You can also use a silicone brush if you prefer not to get all this stuff all over you. Can't say I'd blame you, but all of my brushes are currently in the barn and they have glue frozen to them, so we are using the finger today. If you want to get real creative, you can also go to Dollar Tree and get a silicone sauce spreader for when you're barbecuing. And a lot of times, because I've done this before and then cut the bristles shorter, it's actually extremely effective for spreading wood glue and keeping a mess off your fingers. They're a little bit cheaper than what I get at the store, and if I'm doing a lot with these, I actually almost prefer those because you can move a lot more glue a lot faster. And it's a lot easier to do everything with too. We're also probably going to be doing this as, well, yeah, not sure. I got a few ideas for how I want to do this video. But alright, there's that. Now, got any paper towels down here? Probably not. That'll work. Alright. We're going to go around the other side again because that's where so I can close these clamps up. Just so you can kind of see that. Just crank that down. Crank that down. Let me just close these up. You don't need to kill them when you clamp these up, but you definitely want a good amount of pressure. I think a lot of people get too obsessed about, oh, I can, this clamp can turn with 2,500 pounds of pressure. You don't need that. This is wood, not, you know. You definitely need some to hold it together, but you don't gotta overdo it. So we just crank that down, that down. I'm gonna put one more in the middle. And if anybody ever says I'm hard to shop for, clamps. The more I get, the more I can make in one go. This is gonna be a one-off though, because I'm doing this for the video. And there we go. And I just knocked more clamps over. Alright. That's clamped up and ready to go. Sorry for bumping that. And yeah, so we will give this, it'll be a couple days for me to dry up, and then we will throw it through the planer and get on to the charcuterie board stuff. See you all in a couple days. Bye. And we're back. It's been a few days for me. So we're actually going to break all these clamps loose. See how much glue I got to clean up, which if it's not too much, I'm just throwing it straight in the planer. If it's a bunch, well, I'll do a little sanding. Still need more. Pop that off. Alright. I felt like it might still be a little wet. Yeah, these ones need cleaned up a little bit. But alright, so that's one side. Here's the other. I got a fair bit of glue. This will take a little sanding to clean it up outside. which is our next stop. See you on the time lapse of sanding. While we're out here, I'm going to do all this on a time lapse. We got to sand these high spots of the glue off, and come over here to the planer. Don't mind the messy floor. I don't do a whole lot over here during the winter. And yeah, actually this weekend I'm hoping to go through and clean out everything, even if I only just get this stuff swept up and don't actually pull everything out. So yeah, we'll be throwing this up on the time lapse, and I will talk to you guys when we are ready to start cutting on this, which will be when we get into the double-sided tape. See y'all. It's probably gonna be about an hour or so for me. And we are back. I totally misjudged how long that was going to be. So, for doing the next step, I take a nice thick leaded pencil. In this case, this is a 0.9 lead. And I just go around the outside of this template. And after I want a nice dark line all the way around this. I apologize, my light's not the greatest on this side of the shop. One of my light bars went out, and of course it's the LEDs that face this side of my shop, which is why I want to make sure it's extra dark. Perfect. Let's show up. You can kind of tell. From my angle I can see it, which is the most important part of doing these. So from here, we grab our jigsaw, and I need a battery. So we'll grab the one off the sander I just used to do this, sorry. And then I want to leave a good decent gap here, so I'm not going to hit these lines. And then we're just going to cut this out. Yeah, I'll do a little cutting on this, and then we'll pop it over to a time lapse. I might have a better blade in here. Yeah, that thing's getting all black, and you're actually seeing a little bit of smoke coming off of here, which you can see where it's burning on the edges, which is another reason why I don't like to hit these lines. You'll see why on the next part. Alright, we're going to pop this into a time lapse while I do the rest. That's all I'm going to be working at. Just these blades can't make super tight turns, which is why I got to cut chunks off. So I'll be back to you when we're at the state where we tape. I'm actually going to just throw some double-sided tape and put this right back on where it already was, which is just this stuff. If you've seen somebody apply tape, that's all it is. It just has adhesive on both sides. And I'll see you guys at the next tool we're going to use. And now we're on to my router. In here I've got a flush cut trim bit, which will ride along the edge of this and knock off all the rest of this loose stuff. We're going to do the outside and inside of the handle here. And then we're back onto my other bench for another type of router to round over edges. And yeah, then it's sanding and typical cutting board finishing, which I believe I've already shown. But we'll time lapse the sanding part and then we're done. So, yep. But this is honestly, I find this quite fun to watch. So, here we go. Helps if you have your router up high enough. Yeah. That should be good. Alright. It worked its way down again a little bit, I think. So we gotta raise this back up, which means I didn't quite have it up high enough to begin with. Alright, lock that in. I'm going to go around this angle one more time because it left a little bit of hair. There's a little bit of hairs left. And then inside there. That was a hair too much. I actually cut into my template a little bit. Let's sand that one out. And that'd be that. Get the hole in there all nice and done out. That'll take a little sanding to get rid of, but that won't be too hard. So on to the next one. And here we go. Now we just got to peel this template off. Pull that off, and then I always try to get all my tape up off my templates. Even better, this one still has a little protective film on it. So that one's clear. Then just a regular old putty knife is usually all it takes to peel this up. Alright, I'm going to fix this real quick and then I'll be back to route everything out with you. We got that little bit of a booger up on that cleaned up. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, that's why I did it off camera, because I don't want to do more work than I needed to. This is another type of router. It's the same thing that's in the router tables I have, but this is handheld and this particular one runs off a battery. I really like it because when it spins up, when it's time to stop, it stops dead. So, shouldn't have that on while I'm trying to talk. So what we're going to do is just go over the edges of all of this, which I believe I'll be able to get most of it with my current setup. Looks like it. So I'll go around most of this, move my clamp, do the handle, flip it over, do the same thing, and then we're on to sanding. So here we go. All right, here we go. Alright. Alright. The disadvantage of running battery-powered tools: when your batteries finally go. But it's the one nice thing about having a bunch of spares that are ready to go. Alright, almost done. Alright. Now we've got, where's our camera? There it is. So everything's all nice and rounded over versus square and harsh. This handle is way more comfortable now that it's all rounded over. So we are going to pop it over to a time lapse. I'm going to throw a respirator on, grab a couple other things, and then we're going to start sanding. So my plan is sand this up. I'll show you guys I'm going to have to soak this in mineral oil for a couple hours, and then we will throw some board butter on it. And hopefully, by about 5 o'clock tonight, it'll be ready to wipe down and be done. All right. So we are pretty much done out here with it. It's all sanded down, buttery smooth. Really liking them. So, sorry, I had to get my earplug up. So all I'm going to do when I get inside is basically put some mineral oil. I have a bin that I keep a bunch of it in that I just dunk it under and it does its thing. You want to let them soak for about an hour or so just to make sure you get it deep in the wood, and then I will, after that, I'll be back with you then, and we will be putting some board butter on for the final coat of the finish. But just so we can see real quick, all this is mineral oil, which is what it's going to be soaking in. Just a little bit on it, just a little on the top so you can really see that color pop. That's unfinished, finished. So best part of the woodworking is right here when you put your first coat on, and when you're looking at it and can make sure that there's nothing on there that shouldn't be. You didn't miss anything in your sanding or your final finishing. I'm really happy with this. So I'll see you probably in about an hour real time to throw some board butter on this. How we doing, folks? So we're back in the basement. Just pulled this out of the mineral oil vat. So we're going to start just taking a plain paper towel, just taking a few light passes. I don't care if I get it all off right now, because yeah, once we throw the board butter on there, it's gonna if there's anything else that it needs to soak up, it'll take some of that up in. The beeswax in that'll really help seal pores up. And yeah, so there's that. Now, if you haven't seen, I do actually mix my own board butter. It's just a cutting board, charcuterie board, or wooden bowl mixture. This is the exact same stuff that I sell in the little tins. Sometimes it shows I will throw out a offer of a 2-ounce tin with any cutting board or charcuterie board, or even sometimes the wooden bowls with any purchase. Those do get laser engraved with my logo, board butter, and all that on there. And actually, as soon as we're done doing this, I'm going to be typing up application instructions, which is honestly exactly what I'm doing here. You just take a little bit. I'm putting a lot more on than you would normally need. And you just wipe it on the surface. The difference is I'm also hitting the edges, which are, it's not a bad idea to do, but as long as you're not submerging them in water or anything like that. I got a little sawdust on this table, so I'm on a little bit of debris. It's all just wood. And yeah, so I'm going to let that soak for a little bit, and then wipe it all down to where it's smooth to the touch, and it's done. So I will see y'all in a little bit. All right, and should be long enough to let all of that absorb up in. So the real trick with getting this stuff off is just dry paper towels. And I usually just like to go straight for the first pass. do that, fold that, I'll go sideways the other way. Wipe down the handle. Alright, it's still a little wet, but for now it's good enough. We'll hit the sides. I generally try to only do 1 to 2 passes before I go to a different side or fold it in half. A little bit of that. These little paint pyramids, I believe is what they're called. Super handy for doing stuff like this because it means I'm not putting this down on my table. And I actually do keep those cleaned up for whenever I'm doing these. So we'll do one more pass on there. That's getting kind of wet. So we'll fold that in half. Go back up. Clear all that out. Alright. And by the way, I am only pulling off squares of paper towels. Now we just real light pressure, light pass. A little bit of speed to get a little friction in there. Alright. And at this point, just from doing this, my hands are actually a little wet from this stuff, so it's hard to tell, which is why I use the back of my hand to confirm that it's all cleaned up. And then we just keep going with that. And all right. All right. And that's that. And that's that. How I add charcuterie board handles to a cutting board. As always, if there's anything you guys want to see done, please comment below, like, share, subscribe, do all the fun YouTube stuff. And with that, I will say cat in the hat and dappy dat.